And just like that, we are live on We the Motherhood. I am so glad to be here with my girlfriends, Chioma Oru, Yolanda Corbett, and Mother Joy Johnson Law. And we have our good friends joining us today, Mother Tiffany Simon and Mother Sean Yancey. Yay! Listen, what do we always do? We get started by going to your own Facebook page and then pulling up the Citizen Ed page. Yep. And starting a watch party on your own Facebook page. So let's take a minute to go ahead and get that going. And then we'll get some intros going. Can I get a hey, mother?
Hey, mother.
Hey, mother.
Hey, mother. Or should we say mothers? Hey, mothers.
Well, I want to hear hey, mother from everybody. Can I get hey, mother?
Hey, mother. Mm-hmm.
Sean, your mic, hold on. You're muted, Sean.
Don't laugh however I say it, all right? Because my friends will tease me, so I'm just saying.
Come on, Sean.
Hey, mothers, it's good to see all of you.
Yes.
Yes, it's come through, Sean.
That is prestigious. I think that's we have prestigious moments, but Sean, yes.
I'm trying to fangirl over here. I'm sitting here like I'm about to call my mom and be like, "Mommy, I'm on. Swear I'm on live with Sean Yancey. It's real." Look at you.
It's cool though because Sean and I actually have made art together in our day. Yep. That's my way of knowing Sean.
She inspired me beyond measure. She is the woman that I give credit to who inspired me to step outside of my box and share my art with people besides other than people who live in my house. So much love and thank you to you, Michelle Parrish, for doing that many, 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 many years ago.
Thank you, Mother Sean, for being willing to show with me all those years, and also for being that. I think you might have been the first person I called when I thought I needed some support, and all of your autism advocacy work. I knew you would know how to direct me. The second person that's up here in my right hand corner is Tiffany Simon, who was the second person that I called to help me along my journey. So Tiffany's been one of my road warriors throughout the process. And then, of course, we down here, our motherhood quadrant, right? Chioma, Yolanda, LaJoy, myself, what we have learned over the course of this last year, if nothing else, is that there is significant power in the collective mother. So I am elated. Oh, I know Brittany. Thank you, Brittany, for always being there with us today. Thank you. So we had a busy week this week, didn't we? Can we talk about Care Not Cops real quick? You know why I want to talk about Care Not Cops real quick, Chioma? Because our topic today is mother as high title, right? And the biggest thing that affected us was we had a situation where a mother becomes involved in a protection action to support her son, and the police become involved for whatever reason. Who are you calling it on? My 7-year-old child? You calling it on me? Who you calling it on? And there's no other way to solve this, right? And so, we saw proof in the power of the mother because it's appalling to everyone, right? And so, you want to share a little bit about what happened this week and how we started you and everything that happened? That's, first of all, they got the wrong one. Like,
we got the right one. They got the right one.
Right? Because Chioma was trying to let them know, wait, you said what? Because I do this every day, right? And I do this all day. So let me be clear what you're trying to say. So Chioma, you want to talk a little bit about that before we get going and sort of segue into our work here?
Yeah, I mean, just, really quick, I know that there are many levels to this, and maybe we'll have another conversation where we unpack some of the, bigger ideas around Care Not Cops. But I mean, it really comes out of sisterhood, first of all, that as soon as I posted on social media, that I needed what I didn't post that I needed support. Basically, it was a cry for help. It was like I was so totally disempowered in that moment. I was still shaking, like literally, when I was posting it. I was actually in the car on the road to take my kids to school because they didn't take my kids to school. So I mean, I don't really get into the details of it. I feel kind of burnt out from going through all the details over and over and over again. And I feel the past couple of weeks have been just me recanting. I'm trying to control the narrative in terms of like how I see it. I know that this issue belongs to so many people and that it's beyond my own son, Jedi. It's really truly for all of us. But from my own perspective, knowing that I think about these things so often and frequent is very important that the message looks like how I experience it as well with my family, which is that we are very intersectional. It's not just a Black child situation, it's a Black autistic child, it's a Black child with a disability. And, I mean, it also layers to our identity. And I want all of that to be part of the narrative, part of the story. But what Care Not Cops is really, I think, a logo that this is. So as soon as it happened, I posted it. I mean, I felt a groundswell of people just really loving and embracing, and that was starting to feel really healing. But then, political people started, retweeting it, Councilmember Robert White and Councilmember Janice Lewis George, and also then the advocacy community at large, all the organizations that I have any connection with were also. And then one of the sisters that reached out like personally off social media, how are you doing, sister? Was Mickey Makia Green, Working Families Party, Harriet's Wildest Dreams, basically saying, checking in on me and, hey, can we have a rally? What do you think about a rally? And I mean, literally on beat, moments after I send it, this is what she was very quick and responsive. And so then of course, then Michelle, it kind of spreads, has kind of a life in its own. I'm not even really as focused in telling people individually because it was so much, especially the day of. But then Michelle called me, ready to, she's you want to take somebody to slash a tire. There she goes. She's like, who do you want me to cut? Who do you want me to get? Right?
I was fired up.
So from there, and then Samantha Davis, Black Swan Academy, that's where this is. She was like reaching out constantly, and I was just trying to keep up. Her repetitive, like trying to get my attention. The Black women showed up for my family. Let me just say that. Black women held my family down, and that is historic and consistent. And I don't want to oversight that as we transition to where we're going with this, because then I'm about to deepen even just that concept of sisterhood and motherhood. We get into all of that, but very, very grateful. And so we had the rally, we started with libations, and we which is very important to me, in terms of honoring the ancestors, and again, even my spiritual community showed up. I mean, it was so beautiful for something so horrible, where they literally call the cops on my child and me. Right? That's like the chant. They, the way community showed up. I wish we could show up like this much more frequently for reasons that we create out of our own self-determination. And that's what Jedi needs. That's what Ati, both my sons are autistic. And that's that. So that's it. So I'm very grateful. Care Not Cops is the concept that we want care and we don't want cops. There's no place for them in schools, in my opinion, and we can unpack that later.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that stood out to me in this is at a very broad level, most of our kids have behavior intervention plans that go along with their IEPs and other documents. to help de-escalate, right, certain types of situations. But too often, especially in DCPS, there's a uniformed officer, whether it's a SRO or, you know, whatever, that's included in that plan to help with the de-escalation. So I feel like our children are exposed, you know, much too frequently to that image of police response or police-like response to their disability responses, right? Their responses to whatever types of needs or things that may go on and how they respond. And what we talked about a lot about was the fight or flight reactions that we know are very present when our autistic sons feel pinned in. The risk of that, right? And that risk, if you weren't there, never, you know, that we don't know. And so we're really grateful that bus didn't get that far that day, you know. But you know my beef and Aussie and the bus, you know. I'm always fussing about that bus. But it's, you know, and so what brought us into this conversation, Chioma, while you have the mic, was one day you and I started chatting it up about the diasporic relationship to the matriarch and our role as mothers here, right? And how in many cases, you know, we will find ourselves in the like we'll be in the room and they'll be talking to the mother. The father could be right there, but they'll be talking to the mother, asking for your permission and what do you want to do? And so you broke down for me quite a bit about the matriarchal history of women who descend from the diaspora. Can you give us a little tidbit? You know, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, so I just want to also like preface this by saying that I come from a school of thought that is Pan-African, that is Black nationalist, internationalist even. And so when I say I'm African, yes, I was born in Nigeria. I came to the US when I was 9. I'm first generation Washingtonian, American, all of the above. But that is not what gives me authority in terms of talking about this question of African matriarchy, is because I've literally studied it. I believe if you're Black and you're African, and any African person that is interested in thinking, any Black person, as you mentioned, throughout the diaspora, I feel has ownership over, you know, those are the ancestors that we share. You know, that's all of our story. You know, that's not my ancestors, that's our ancestors, especially considering how it dates back. The practice of primordial African matriarchy to like 7th century AD, right? Like going way, way back. This predates slavery. This is the practice, the indigenous practice that, and the way I studied it, I'm not an anthropologist, even though I have a master's degree in African studies. I didn't deepen that. That was my PhD is in political science. So mind you, I'm thinking about this as a political scientist, not so much as, you know, it is in Black studies, Africana studies, but not in the humanities, but in the social science realm is how I approach my work with this, how I stumbled even upon this. And I was, again, mothering while I'm dissertating or like going through the PhD process. I had both my sons when I was earning my PhD, right? I discovered my first son was developmentally delayed when I was ABD, anything but dissertation, once I advanced to candidacy. So my mothering journey, I did my dissertation research in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is what sparked me to think through this question of African matriarchy, happened. I had to wean my then, 14-month-old early. I breastfed my first son 2 years, and I only breastfed my second son 14 months because I had a choice to make at that point if I was going to go to the Congo or not, and I couldn't take my son. So I was there. I was on the ground where the women were being raped in the eastern region of DRC, and really and again, I'm indigenously from the West African region, so I have contextual knowledge of maybe some of the cultural practices that remain on the continental. I see it in manifestations in the U.S. as well. I mean, Angela Davis is actually a big contributor to the concept of Black matriarchy in the United States, in terms of looking at class. So we know that the thought and looking at what happened during slavery, what colonialism meant has always meant in the disruption of our social systems, not so much in the individual oppression of us or our land or our resources. It also was a repression of how we show up in the world, how we value things, our worldview, and whether it had political, whether it had a politic or not, right? Really disorienting everything that our ancestors had built up. And what were they building up? What was a big threat to the colonial project was that for a majority of sub-Saharan African countries, and I just want to note that in North Africa, Cheikh Anta Diop would put down the first theory around primordial African matriarchy, and that was part of a theory that he also developed called the two cradle theory, basically saying that civilization developed differently in the southern hemisphere and also differently in the northern hemisphere. And in the southern hemisphere, and that includes the Americas and many parts of Asia, there is a consistency of matriarchal, as in mother-centered. Some people, dispute the concept of matriarchy ever having existed, but that's because they define it like patriarchy. And matriarchy has never meant the total domination of women ruling. It just means how you center, who you center in the policy of your community, right? So by that, you can call it matrilineal, you can call it matrifocal, you can call it matriarchal, right? All depending on your school of thought and orientation of that. Now, so Diop says a two cradle theory here. So the thing with North Africa is that before we had colonialism in terms of Europeans coming to take Africans out to the Americas and other places, and then impose on the African continent their own geographic divisioning, control over the resources, and all that happened over a number of centuries. But before they even ever touched ground in about, the 1400s, we knew that there was an Arab colonialism. They call them the Arab invasion. So the Islamization of Africa predates, the European invasion of Africa. And so the Northern Hemisphere kind of doesn't have the same kind of roots in terms of sub-Saharan Africa, primarily because of Islamic influence, which lends to more patriarchal order, right? So not to be confused, I don't want to get too much in the weeds of these things, but to know that in sub-Saharan Africa, there's a consistency in those south of the Sahara in matriarchal practices. And what does that mean? That means that inheritance is passed down through the mother. That means that decisions are made with the interest of the mother, right? That means markets are run by the mother, right? That means that, succession of power and power. So you had some, more monarchic spaces, but most of Africans owned their land. But there was never mercantilism or serfdom or any of those kinds of practices where even if you had a king or a queen, it was never about subordination. It was just about that spiritual authority. So but most of Africa did not even have that. I'm Igbo. We did not have kings and queens. We were very a democratic society for centuries, and that's because of the strength of the matriarchal order, which said that you need a council of people, a council of elders making decisions, which says that in disputes you settle with the mother as the dominant principle, right? Which says that the most important person in the mother's life is her first son and her first daughter. So then the actual valued relationships are kinship, right? We also come from a place where we're not even talking about gender, because there's actually a book that I came across during my studies called Before There Was Gender. So I don't even want to genderize mothering. Mothering was a mission. Mothering was a spiritual duty. Mothering was a basis in which policy was decided. Who has the most to lose was who society was based on. And that is how primordial African societies created. And agriculture, which is the primary, if you say you're talking civilization, it starts with agriculture. African women till today, okay, you ask the World Bank, IMF, any of them. This is why the Congo, why I did my dissertation there, why I was interested in this is because I was trying to understand why the rape crisis was occurring the way it was. It was a rape crisis, as in the women were being raped at such, abnormal rates. Even when you compare it to like Bosnia, Kosovo, or even Rwanda, other times when you look at rape as the spoil of war, there was something different, and is something because it's still going on to some degrees happening in Eastern region of Congo. Why? Congo is called the heart of Africa. I mean, our ancestors have poured all their love into the Congo. What does the Congo not have? Coltan, cobalt, uranium, plutonium. I mean, oil. These are fresh water sources that come from the Nile. Congo has everything, and it also has agriculture, hectare land that can feed countries for centuries. And who controls that?
The
The mother.
matrix.
Mothers till today. And in order to get the resources from under the land that is more valuable, you can't make a cell phone without an ingredient called coltan, right? Only produces almost 90% of coltan production in the world. You can only find it in Congo, maybe some bits and pieces in Latin America. So there's a complete domination of technology. Your computer, your phone, even your smart car, none of them can function without these resources that only produces in that region where those women are growing their food. So the only way you get control of that they have passed down literally for centuries. Mothers pass it down to their mothers, to their sons, to his first daughter, to mothers, to their sons, their first daughters, mothers, to their sons, and their first daughters. And it goes down that. And that was the value of that land, that these women are being raped by their sons, by the way. When you talk about war soldiers, they're being raped by their sons, right? You're drugging up the boys, you're kidnapping them at early ages, stealing them right under their mother's womb, and bringing them back to other people's villages to rape the next mother and displace her and send her into a refugee camp. So, I want to say this in the complexity of what it is. It's not a bad Black man, poor mother situation. It is truly a tragedy for the whole continent, for the entire bloodline around the world. Yet, we all instinctively, because it's so baked in the DNA, the value system is there in the Congo as much as it's here in Washington, D.C., right? And anywhere in the United States. It's just part of how we move. And part of that relationship we have with other brown people, that's because they're from the Southern cradle as well. And we have shared cultural values, right? So there is a consistency between, other people and other indigenous people around the world. And this is how we get to the point of matriarchy, right? And what it can mean politically today is what it did mean in the 7th century AD. And so reclaiming ourselves and decolonizing our minds is also remembering our own value, our own systems, and finding a way to make that policy today.
Right.
How policy is decided by ideas.
So, mother, period.
Period, right? Period.
When you said this to me the first time we saw, I am as enamored now as I was the first time we talked about this, because suddenly so many things sort of just really made sense to me. And I started to think, because one of the things that we've talked about is the fact that in the special education arena, many parents don't know their power. And we've heard some mothers say that they feel less, they're not as educated, like the teachers may have more degrees and they don't have any, or we have mothers, that didn't even finish high school, right? Or don't have beyond 8th grade reading proficiency or whatever, right? So we've heard all these things. We know that some moms, we've heard people say that they were mothers who couldn't read at all. And so that this all gave a feeling of disempowerment when going into these conversations about your child. It made many families feel less protected. And what we have discovered is that we have the most powerful seat in the room. Yes, no, right? We have a power seat. No decisions can really be made without us. If we're participating, we are a key decision maker. And so the only title I need to carry in the room is mother. Right?
That's
I was like,
exactly right.
oh, that is my title. I mean, so now we're like, hey, mother, hey, mother so and so, because it is the high title. It is as high as any title. It's the status, and it's not in mother. In all the theories of matriarchy, when you say matrifocal, it's not about birth, right? It's the midwifing. It's the whole thing that gets done through the collective power of women who come together to make things better, right? To improve the community, the village, and to make things happen, right? It is not about the specific birthing of a child that makes you sort of in that collective mother circle. That mother work component is not necessarily that, and so you don't have to be a mother. But for those parents who find themselves on this journey, who sometimes feel disempowered, we're here to say, mother is the high title. Yes. Okay. So let me ask you, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would imagine that now you have been open in your advocacy for autism and shared your story before, and I don't know what you'd like to share today, but I'm just curious, like on your journey, have you had, so you have some fame, right? Let's be real, right? People know who you are, they watch you on the news, and has that ever changed anything in your journey, or have you felt as if you hit some of the same walls you've heard some other families struggle with? How do you feel?
I think that maybe early on, we probably hit some of the same walls, but I think that because of learning about things early on, maybe I didn't hit some of the same struggles. But I mean, for example, looking for schools and deciding what school we were going to place our son in. I mean, I think all parents who have children with autism struggle with that or consider that or think that. I don't think that because of what my day job is helped me anymore. If it helped me, it's because maybe I met or got access to certain people sooner. But as a mother, I would have been digging to find those answers, which is what I was already doing. My story, in a nutshell, I knew since my youngest son was roughly 1.5, 2 years old, maybe younger, that there was something different. And I wasn't 100% sure of what it was. His speech was not the same as other children, and he had parallel play, not playing with other kids, and we weren't quite sure. And we had him in speech therapy. We were doing everything we could. We had a therapist come into the house. We were going to this school. We did a LEAP school at the University of Maryland, all different things. And some woman said to me one time, have you ever considered autism? Well, at that point in my life, I was not as educated as I am now. And my perception of what autism was not what I saw in my child. I didn't see a child who had certain characteristics. I just, I wasn't 100% sure. And so immediately I was like, no, because I had a set idea of what I thought autism was. And, but we were still doing everything that we possibly could. A couple of years went by and we were in tears because, people were labeling him and, busybody at school. He couldn't sit still. They didn't want him at summer camp. And I mean, you guys have been through, I'm sure, a lot of this. But eventually for me, my pediatrician here said, have you ever heard of Asperger's syndrome? And I was like, no, I don't know what it is. And she kind of told me, but I didn't, I went home and Googled it, screamed and just started crying. And I screamed, honey, I know what it is. I know what Tyson has. So I called my dad, who's a pediatrician. And I said, Daddy, I know what it is. Tyson has Asperger's. And my dad said, I know. Oh my gosh. Can I just tell you that in that moment, my heart was hurt because he said that to me. And I thought, well, thank you, honey. I said to him, you've known all along. And he said, well, you're my daughter and I know you. And if we put that label autism on for you early on, you would not have accepted it. But you guys were doing everything that you possibly could to help him. And you've done nothing wrong. And so, gosh, I felt awful because I thought, gosh, I didn't accept it. And he's right. When that first person mentioned the word to me, I was like, nah, not my son, because I wasn't educated about it. Anyway, once we got the revelation and we went through all the diagnoses and everybody said, you guys are doing everything that you possibly can, fighting for him. We've been through a lot. He is 21 right now. And I am grateful to say that he is, we blessed to be in a position that I could put him in the schools that I wanted to put him into. And so maybe I didn't have to go through some of the hurdles that other families may have challenges, but certainly we had our challenges because not everybody understood. We put him in certain schools and teachers didn't get it. You guys know that. But I'm grateful to say he is finishing his junior year of college. And now we are going through what I like to call the adult, this young adult issues. And so we're working on those right now. I don't want to talk too loud because he's down the hallway. But we're going through our own stuff right now as an adult. And I was just thinking I need to talk to some adult parents too to find out how you navigate this with a 21-year-old. But anyway, I feel like I talk too much. But in a nutshell, yes, I feel like maybe because I got to interview certain people, I then had access to certain people that maybe I would not have had I not been on TV. I'm grateful for that, but I still feel like we encountered many of the challenges that we all encounter.
Yeah. You're emotional, like, how you just got swept up. I've been swept up like that. Like I said, you were the first person I called. I'm like, what can I do? I don't know. Where should I go? How should I do it? I didn't know. And I will say that what I have found, Sean, is that this is really a lot of power in having a network like this where you can talk to someone and you share like the emotional parts that are, because it's scary on some level and confusing, and it does help to have some access, but it also isn't a guarantee that it's going to work either, and so sort of the other piece of it is like, even with access, it still may take so much time, and it's hard to deal with. What do you think about, like, when you power of the collective? Like, do you think that it's power in collective motherhood in this community of mothers?
I absolutely think, and I think this is wonderful, what you guys have put together. And I think that's great. I think there was a point several years ago, and so this did come from my job. I was able to interview Tisha Campbell, the actress, and also D.L. Hughley's wife. And at the time they had done, I don't know if you guys remember this, they had put together like a movie, a documentary talking about children with autism. And after we did the interview, we sat and laughed and cried for like 3 hours beyond when they were supposed to be there, just talking about our shared experiences. And in that moment, that gave me, like, I felt more empowered. I felt like I'm not here by myself and I understand it. And they were like, hey, here's our phone number because I've already walked where you're trying to go. So feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or if you have, and just the other day I went looking for a phone number because I was like, okay. So at the time they had, somebody who was in their 20s. I have a few questions to ask about this, that, or the other. So yes, most definitely. I think there is strength in groups and conversations just like this.
Yeah. Definitely. One of my favorite pictures of Tyson was his prom picture. They were so fly.
We're not going to talk about the girl in the picture anymore. I mean, they dated. Yeah, they dated until like about Valentine's Day, this Valentine's Day. But that's all.
That's a long time.
They did. I mean, so for the most part, I would say that Tyson has Asperger's, and so he's very high functioning, and most people wouldn't know. And for us, we never told him this was how we chose to approach it in our house. We said to him, I don't believe in using the word disability. I told him that he had a gift because for us, I said, your brain thinks in ways mine can't possibly think. And you have a gift that I don't have. And so I never, ever wanted him to look at it from that way. We always wanted him to look at it from the positive aspects. And I know everybody doesn't agree with that, but that's what worked for us in our house. And that's what's worked all of these years. And we never really used the word disability or put it in anything until he went to college, because there were certain accommodations that he needed for testing. And so we had to go to the Office of Disability. And I had to talk to him and say, look, I know we didn't use that word in our house. This is how the law defines it. And this is how other people define it. So it's fine. We're going to go here and we're going to handle this, but you still have a gift. And so that's just how we chose to deal with it and what worked for us.
I've been of the mindset that that changing the way, I think using the word disability is not like, to me, that's not, I'm not so concerned about it, but I do feel like it needs to be more focused on the gift side, because all of our autistic children are gifted in some way that is so beautifully different from how just neurotypical people think. And I've always thought like the best way to really modify therapies is to do a non-deficit based approach that would look at, instead of trying to remove the divergence, I'll use the word divergence, that you allow it and you accept it and you create space for it, as opposed to, and like, as she almost say, smash on ableism, right? Because that's the ableist mentality to try to say, no, you should be like me, right? You should be like me. And you're not the right type of American citizen we're looking for if you can. Right. And so, yeah, I love that. I love that. Tiffany, what made me think about that just reminded me of that first t-shirt I bought from you about I think differently. I just think differently. And I think that's been your theory the whole time too. In raising Ralph, your organization is really highlighting that I just think differently. I'm not neurodiverse. I'm not neurotypical, if you will, right? If I must be one or the other, I just think differently. And so that was always your theory. So, what do you think about, is mother the high title?
It is absolutely. It's funny. Like, I always used to take the humble approach when I talked about like starting on my nonprofit or writing my blog. It says I'm just a mom, but when the actuality is you're more than just a mom. You're everything. When it's you are the head of the household, whether your husband wants to believe it or not. Let's just be honest. No decision is made. No paint color is chosen without your approval. No furniture is bought without your approval. So, but when it came to our son, he actually took the lead on that, and I was the one that was in denial. I was just flat out floored. This was my first son. You have your whole mindset like, hey, I'm gonna be the soccer mom. I'm gonna be the cute mom with the cute body because I'm gonna have a snapback, really great, all this stuff, and then I find out that something's wrong and I can't fix it. And so I was devastated. It took me so long to get through the process. But I have to say that when you are going through something like that, you have to have a circle that supports you, whether it's your mother, your girlfriend, your grandmother, your auntie, anybody. And that's what I had around me. And that's what helped me wrap my head around this. And my mother pulled me aside one day. She's like, I have watched you for 6 months now, and you have a beautiful family, and you have to get your stuff together so you can go ahead and be the mother that I raised you to be. And so that night I prayed about it. I woke up the next day and was just like, you know what? I have wasted too much time and given too much power of not being able to be the mother that I know I can be to my children. And so from then on, I have never looked back. Like, I had, the first IEP meeting, I told Michelle, they caught me on my heels. But trust me, the next time I walked in there is no degree or title that would intimidate me, because that's my child, and that's the approach that I took. Like, you're not going to tell me or do anything without my approval and my input on any IEP, any behavioral directive. Like, we wrote the whole thing over, and they were just like, is there anything else you need, Miss Simon? I'm like, because that's the approach that I had to take. I had to be firm about that. And when we started to put together the nonprofit, I wanted to make sure that I had moms on my board that had children that were older than my son, older than my daughter, because I know for a fact, and I am just caught up in this moment of him being in elementary school, being 10 years old. So what happens when he turns 15? What happens when he turns 20? So I wanted us to build a network, a support, a board that actually had all that representation right there. So if a question comes, somebody asks me, hey, what was it like when your 16-year-old had this? I can say, hey, Wendy, can you take this question? And she's already been there. She's already experienced that. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that, being a mom, it's not just a mom. So if anybody out there says, I'm just a mom, you are more than that. Look at yourself in the mirror. It's like, I am the head. I am the CEO. I run this. And that's the approach that you have to take. And Michelle got me in that mindset, because I always used to be very humble and quiet about stuff. And, she was like, you really should get out there and do this. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm comfortable. But like I said, 2020
No, that
has
sounds familiar.
always, Yeah, it's just like she's just like, what is wrong with you? You have this gift, you have this, you can do that. I'm like, you think so? She was like, yes. So it's just like, believing in yourself and knowing your strength. Like I said, nobody messes with our children.
That's right.
Any mom on here knows that for a fact. And Shanoma, I know nobody messes with your son. I caught you on the news and was like, oh my, I know her. What's going on? I'm about to hit Michelle up, but I see she's at the rally, so she's not going to answer the phone. So you have my support. I may have been silent, but I was right there with you.
Yeah, you definitely. I should have told you that, Chioma. Yes, Tiffany was like, "Yo, they messing with the mothers."
Yes.
Yeah, I feel the love big and wide, especially from Black women. So I appreciate that.
Shioma, I just want to jump in and say, so I was out of the country when everything happened. But when I came back and I was reading through the news and I didn't know it was you. And so, but my response was when I reposted the article from NBC Washington, and I wrote, as a mother of a child with autism, I am appalled. I just, a lot of times I don't give my opinions and thoughts, but I did on that. So I just want you to know, I felt all of that with you and understood. So I just want you to know, there are a lot of us out here that, I saw that you said Holly Robinson Pete posted it on her Instagram. There were a lot of people out there who, and I didn't know until you started talking. And when you said your son's name, I was like, so we're with you.
No, thank you. And, I feel it energetically. It's just, in that moment, as you all know, I think the microaggressions are so much more prevalent. And part of why I find all of this interesting as a social scientist is that we've been telling people, right, this is such a hard road, but people don't see those microaggressions. It's not captured on video. And even if it was, would people be able to, I was saying, even before the police came on scene, it was violence. The minute they said, get your child off that bus, he's not putting on a mask, it was violent. So the violence does not start with the police, right? It's that imposition. So we all know this pain, and that's the part that I, want to just hone in.
What struck me is that, when I called you, I'm like, yo, what we gonna do? Let's go live, let's talk about it, right? But I had to organize a training, right? So I knew we had to throttle back, right? And we needed to talk it out first, right? But I was ready to fight because I have just found myself so frustrated, and I don't want my answer to be, my solution always goes back to divest. I gotta go. I need to be out. I need to find somewhere else because I don't want to fight this fight. But here I am, right? Because someone's got to fight the fight, right? Because there's so many people that aren't going to be able to fight. Those of us with strength and energy and will, we have to do it, right? So I'm back. Right? I'm not divesting today, but I can't promise you that I won't later. But Yolanda, Angelique, Mother Angelique, Marshall, hey girl, hey mother, posted a comment that reminded me of something. Nothing about us without us, right? And that was what we took to the Mayor Muriel Bowser, Washington D.C. mayor, and before the school year began, before last fall, before they started to return for term 2, and we wanted to engage, right? We wanted more parent engagement because we wanted to tell them we think our children might be opposed to masks, right? And we want to know what will happen. Will they be penalized? What will occur if, when I drop my son off at the door and drive away, he takes his mask off and then makes you chase him to try to get it back on? Are you going to lock him in the room? What's going to happen? So now we know for sure because they didn't listen. They put our letter to the side. They didn't try to ask us anything. They spoke to some parents, but they didn't want, and this never came up. And we sat on every town hall we could. We posed these questions. And no one seemed to think that it was worth a solution, right? Or invest. So now they know, right? It's a big deal because what we said was we don't want our children to be criminally penalized if they can't maintain due to the nature of their various disabilities, if you will. Mm-hmm. It might not work. So what are you going to do? How are you going to be prepared? Or are you just going to box my kid out? Are you going to force my kid to miss more school? are you going to further create regression and learning loss? And I haven't gotten the right services all this time. And so now we're back, but are you really prepared? Do you even know what we need, right? Okay, so nothing about us without us. Okay, so LaJoy, nothing about us without us. Mom as the focal point, and also head of household. What you
I
think?
am.
What you think?
Well, I pulled out my crown for this, you know.
I see you.
Like, I pulled out my crown. I was like, wait a minute, this is a special occasion, because I was like, you know, I know this is a Friday, it's every day, but mothers, we should feel like this every day. You know, and some days, you know, our crowns are tilted because we're just going through it. But we are the heads of household. We are our child's keeper. We are, to all the caregivers, you are the advocate. You're the lifetime advocate. You know, my daughter, because we're talking about autism, and I know it's Autism Awareness Month, and that's something that I'm currently trying to figure out with my daughter. So my daughter was born at 1 pound and 6 ounces. So she's considered my miracle baby. So I didn't think I would actually be a mom, but she's here. Abria's 9. She was born at 23 weeks. And so Abria has chronic lung disease, and she has epilepsy. She has an IEP. So she has all these different, you know, special healthcare needs. And so right before COVID, I signed consent for her to be reevaluated. And I was like, oh my God, great. You know, I'm also noticing, I'm wondering if Abria's autistic. I'm noticing some autistic tendencies. You know, I just kind of got into this really early, and I just had to kind of learn as I go. And so right when we're trying to reevaluate her, COVID hits. And I'm like, I really want to know what's happening, because she's getting older. We're about to transition, and I want to make sure that she's at a school that's appropriate for her. But one of the problems is the school that I really want her to go to is like an hour away. Why do I have to? I see Sean's face like, why do I have to send her an hour away just to get inclusivity? Well, not just inclusivity, but just to get services that are appropriate for her. Why can't we have those services here in the city? We have just billions and billions of dollars. Even the budget and all this other stuff. Come on, y'all. In DC has so much money, right? Like, there's so much money out here. Why do we have to go completely outside for our children to be served? Mm-hmm. And so as I'm talking with the school now, I'm really anxious, because I'm like, okay, where am I going to send her? I don't know. I'm trying, yes, I'm going to say it. I'm trying to get creative with her IEP. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to the school about this. I'm like, look, we have to get creative. So this is what we're doing. And I just tell the school, I'm like, look, this is what we're doing, or this is what we're not doing. Right. Because I know if I have to give you, do you need my support? Right. Because if I have to give you support, I'm not going to have the problem. That's the mentality I've always had. I don't have the problem. And actually, my daughter's not a problem, and she doesn't have a problem. If you're not able to serve her, but you're going to receive federal funds for her, then you have the problem. So it's up to you whether you want to do this the right way, or you want to do this the Miss Law way, where you need my support. So it's up to you. So I've always had the mentality of, I do have the high title, and in the room, I do have the highest title in the room, and I'm not negating anybody else's title. But when it comes to my child, to my daughter that I birthed into this world, that took literally an act of God for her to even be here. Don't play with me. You don't know me that way. You don't want to get to know me that way. I am the high title. I am the beginning, middle, and the end when it comes to Abria Law.
Period.
Do you have any questions? You know, Ms. Law, we just want to make sure that, you know, Abria has a great experience here. You know, we have her eye. Thank you. Ms. Law, do you need your procedural safeguards? baby, I have my advocacy book here, but I know it's the law. You need to give them to me. Let me sign the paper. Because what we're not going to do, don't play with me. And when she goes to middle school, wherever she goes, they're going to have the same talking to. When she goes to high school, it's going to be the same thing. Because, and again, y'all, we can debate this. I think it really we're talking about, Sean said our children have gifts. I think it's a special gift in us to be their mother in the first place. It takes a special mother to raise such gifted children. And I think all children have a gift. But we know that with the exceptionalities, whether we call them disabilities, whatever name we choose, that it's going to take double the work, right? It's going to take some extra steps to get them to where they need to be. So that takes a special gifted mom to do that. And so to all the mothers and to all of our caregivers, you are the highest person in that room, because last time I checked, I didn't know the school could sign on the dotted line for a child. Don't they need parent consent? You need my signature, don't you?
Yep.
Wait a minute. Where's my pen? You need my signature. You need my signature just to evaluate. You need my signature just to enroll. You need my signature on film. So you need my signature for all of this stuff. And I have all this responsibility, but yet you put me in a corner. But yet you don't respect me. You can't even talk to me. Yes, Ossie, I'm talking to you. You can't even get a supervisor to call Dr. Chioma. Yes, I'm calling her because that's her title too, Mother Dr. Chioma Oru. You couldn't get on the phone and say, hey, Dr. Oru, can you just send us an email? But you can call, but you can call the cops. But you can suspend, right? We can suspend the baby. We can expel them. Teachers can decide that they don't feel like teaching them. But yet you need my help though. But then you disregard me though. This system is such a contradiction and it's such an oxymoron and it's nauseating and I'm tired of it. And so just to all the mothers and to all the caregivers, you have a high title in your child's life. You are the high title because guess what? You're all they have. Like our kids are all like, I'm all my daughter has. Like I have like my mom and I have a good support system and I have you guys. But at the end of the day, I have to make sure things are straight for Abria. That's our job. Any job, what mother, that's our job. And so if we can't be respected enough to even just do that in our own household and we're looked down upon, then not only do we need to change the system, maybe we just need to fall back and just say, you know what, I'm out the system. I'm gonna do this my way. So that's my 2 cents. So mother is the high title. I pulled out my crown.
Yes. Yes. Yolanda, she reminded us that do you need my support is a t-shirt. So
I really think it needs a t-shirt.
It's a special, really and then your name as the person who said it, because that is a classic LJL line. Do you, and the claps, so we have to put the little clap emoji in there to go behind you.
Yeah, because you got to be on beat. Do you need my support?
Angelique said we might need one that says, oh yeah, and you need my signature. But, Chioma reminded us that they could get around you. I mean, because you have to actively participate, right? And then if they feel like your active participation is going so much against what they feel like they need, they can find ways around you, which is probably one of the most unfortunate pieces of it, is that even if you stand, it's very similar to, I don't know, my 11-year-old being able to advocate for their own vaccine without my involvement. Okay. Because essentially what they want to be able to do is say, well, you fight me then. They were like, you fight me then. And the truth is that because we know that in the District of Columbia specifically, disproportionately, the families that fall in this category aren't going to be able to fight. They could, but they might not, the likelihood of the wherewithal, the funds, the access, the knowledge, the information, it's going to be hard. And so if they say, nah, we're gonna do this for your kid, fight me. A lot of family and discourse, I'm a big sort of believer that discourse in our communities is so pervasive in convincing families that they just are what they are and they just stuck with their stuff. And this is just who we are, and we don't need, and what we get is what we get. That the discourse is so deeply rooted in the fabric of some communities for so many generations that when the system says this what you're getting, fight me if you want something different. And the fight back piece, that's where the organizing and growing on our end comes in, right? Being able to really get that parent power up. And so my question for Yolanda Corbett, hey mother. First of all, I do address all the Chiomas mail to mother doctor, just for the record. Okay. So hey mother Yolanda, here's my question for you, right? After we all got together, right now, I know you guys been out this way longer than me. How many times you want to walk in the room and say, I am the mother?
Was that the end of the question? Because I'm ready to go.
I'm ready. I'm ready for you to go.
Okay, listen. Hold on. First and foremost, right? Because I only got 15 minutes to do what I do, and then I'll give it back to y'all. So I have a nice crown, right? Because here's the importance of having conversations in circles like these. We have a new term amongst us, the anti-social social. And some of us hold on to that a little pridefully more than others. And so I am sometimes befuddled, but thankful that I'm in the sister circle. So my dear sister LaJoy, for my birthday, got me a crown as well. So yeah. Because every now and then we got to remember that we do wear crowns, whether we have a physical one or not. And sometimes it gets so overwhelming that these moments are needed for adjustments of our sister circle to fix that crown. Because mine get crooked. Listen, you might find mine on the ground some days because baby, it's rough. But to the question at hand, I think as it pertains to DC, I've been blessed to be able to travel somewhat, not as extensively as my sister, Dr. Chioma, but God is still working in my life. So maybe I'll make it to the Congos too. I might not survive, but I want to see it for a brief moment. I'm not survivor ready, y'all. I'm trying to get there. But I think that it's a lot of mind games that are happening, especially in this space, because the study shows that a lot of moms that are dealing in the disability space are single moms of Black and Brown communities. And what comes with that is a lot of sometimes trauma and burdens from just not being able to figure out the day-to-days. My story is that I have a now 14-year-old young man who we found out that he was, first they gave us a diagnosis of Asperger's when he was 5. Which is now, as far as I understand it, no longer a diagnosis, so it's just autism. And I didn't know what that meant. It's not like it's a regular chat by the corner store in the Black community about disabilities. We can't even handle talking about our own in-house trauma because what happens in your house stays in your house. If you go out here running your mouth, so we got a lot of things that we working through as a people. But when you add that extra label to your life, first as a mom, because we talked about this on the show before about the assessments and how they always ask you, were you on drugs? Were you crazy? Have you done this? Have you done that? All the negative things, right? It starts making you question yourself. Like, what happened? And then you go through, at least my experience was just going through with the people who are supposed to be the experts. And I found that because it was something that was so new to me, it was my first son. I have 3 now. Ages, he's 14. I have a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old now, and a 7-year-old. But at that time of being a new mom who just found out that your child has something that makes him different, I felt alone. Nobody around me had ever dealt with that. And so I heavily relied on the school and the experts to help guide me on what I could do best for my child. To be met with such adversarial tones once I educated myself. See, that was the problem. I educated myself alongside them. As long as they were telling me what my child needed and what they wanted to give my child, we were friends. We were good. We were family. I could come to all the cookouts. But once I educated myself and started asking questions and arming myself with knowledge, then that's when the true claws came out. And so, I think that 2020 has gifted us with a lot of responsibility, because it unveiled a lot of things that we have to deal with as a people. We watch people get killed right on national television. We've had so much loss from the pandemic. I mean, and the list goes on and on. We have people who are facing eviction as soon as they give us the green thumbs up, and everybody has been getting their vaccination, but we hear no talk about this. And so when we talk about education and the extra responsibility of having to navigate your child through something that they can't help, then we're talking about looking for empathy, and it's not there. So now what we've had to do as mothers is get together and empower each other to say, no, you don't have to take it. I can't tell you how many spaces I've been in where I've been villainized without me even saying a word out of my mouth. And it was just for me demanding or asking more for my child. My child is in second grade reading on a sixth grade level. I was supposed to be proud about that. He was the only second grader talking about Greek mythology and sharks and all different types of omnivores and stuff like that. I couldn't keep up, And even now he's this grown 6'1", I'm sure, tall 14-year-old. Can you just the visual? He's 6'1", 14 years old. And some days he has the mindset of a 20-something-year-old or 60-year-old man, and some days it's the mindset of a 5-year-old, depending on how he's feeling. But because of exacerbated circumstances of him being a Black male that is 6 feet tall, but he doesn't have a sign to say he's 14 years old and this is how you should handle him, then I got to work overtime. Because, I'm a single mom, 3 kids, living in DC, overpriced apartments, can't even afford one, homelessness, all these different things I'm dealing with, trying to find a job, lost a job, all these things that little old me got to deal with. And now I have to worry about whether or not people who are paid to care about my child and other children like him are actually doing their job genuinely enough that I can at least have that particular burden off of my plate. Where's the community? So when we talk about getting behind this issue, I think every mother, MOTHER, and every mother, the ones who go out here and show up past their doorstep, should be able to understand why we are so passionate and about my mother being the highest title. It comes with a lot. And let's not forget that it is a calling that you have to accept, because every day a child is misused and abused because a mother could not handle the responsibility and the calling of being a mother. It takes a lot. So when you have one that shows up to you and says, hey, I want to know about my child and how I can help them be better, can we form a partnership, and you still choose to call the damn police on them, then we got some problems. And you right, we gonna show up. And we the motherhood and everybody else in the hood gonna show up and say, what's going on? Do you need my support? Okay. So I said a lot. I think I said something in between that. So thank you.
When we were talking about the mother thing, right? Because I blame Hey Mother on Yolanda because she started with the mothers have landed when we came to Citizen Ed, the great Citizen Ed, follow Citizen Ed. And I said, and you defined mother, right? The difference, right? Do you remember what you said? I don't remember. Do you remember? Because it was dope. I should have wrote it down.
I think dang, did I text it to you? It goes.
No, that's not.
Okay, so I think I said mother is something that is given, right? Like mother is just something that you're born with. It's a title that you have when you birth a child, right? Mother, MUVA, simply means that you care past your household. That means that you are willing to stand up because you understand that if it don't get right for the world, it ain't gonna get right for your household. Point blank, period. The things you think that you have solved in your own household today may show up on your family's doorstep generations later. So I always am going to encourage people to step up and speak up. Don't just be satisfied because you got it figured out. Don't be that damn selfish. because other people need other people. Sorry, Sean Yancey, we get a little ratchet here sometimes. I said, damn.
Wait, you need not apologize to me. You don't need to apologize.
I mean, I just carry you with such prestige. I watched you for so long. I had my moment. I'm a fangirl moment.
Yeah. We're all mothers here, and at the end of the day, just like you said, we wear that crown, we wear that title, that high title. Every one of us is going to fight for our kids. I don't care, whatever. No ratchet. This just real life. Real life.
Yeah.
Real life.
Definitely. So Yolanda, I think Yolanda, her internet went essential right as but she dropped the mic. We'll wait for her to pop back.
The internet couldn't handle her. The internet couldn't even handle what she was saying.
I wait for her to pop back in. So as she was talking, I was thinking about when we were at the rally. One of the things I said was like, you know, that a lot of us cried, you know, individually a lot. But, you know, before we really knew each other, before we understood the power of speaking our truth in these stories and sharing this information and being open about it with others, that and it was funny because Aunt Mother Tasha Hill was our babysitter while we went to the rally, and so she didn't want to tell me something my son had done, and so she was like, "Well, I didn't want to say it in front of LaJoy," and I said, "Well, that's the power of the whole thing, right? You can say it in front of LaJoy because LaJoy gets it. We don't have to like hide what's different, right? So now our children can actually come together. They can play with other children. They can make connections without necessarily being worried what's going to happen with, you know, I say, there's nothing you can say that you know, you can say it in front of LaJoy. You know, it's fine. Like finally LaJoy can come over on a Friday night and bring her daughter without worrying about if she, you know, is it going to be okay? And, you know, can you, do I have to leave it? Or even, I said, Yolanda, I said, well, bring your son, you know, because we're so used to the isolation that it's kind of strange when there's nothing but full circle acceptance, right? But I love Hey Mother, right? And I'm ready to get out on a t-shirt. I got some coffee mugs. So Tiffany, what you think? Mother is the high title as we start wrapping up and making our way to the end. I'm just curious, like if you're in Prince George's County, I know that all of our sort of stories in terms of where we stand as mothers and how we carry this, right? And I know that there are folks who have said, well, why are you so mother-centric, right? And I said to my mother today, I said, well, you know, no one's about us, right? There's no one that is there for us. Like we can, you know, call Kennedy Krieger or we can call Children's Medical Center and we can get things for our son, but they ask us about do you drink, do you drug, did you do this, did you have the baby early, you know, all these things, but they don't ask you how you doing and here's your support program. They don't say simultaneously while we begin these therapies for your child, we're going to have these therapies for you. They don't ever, they just leave us standing at the door and pass us the bill, right? And so then my mom, she got offended. She said, well, wait a minute. You're not, I mean, I'm here. I said, I don't mean you, right? I don't mean you, you know, I mean, like in the macro, you know, across, right? When I go to get whatever my son needs, they're not thinking about what I need, right? And so that's why we existed. And Tiffany, when the first time we were at that meeting and I said, oh my God, I follow your blog. And we got to talking. And I remember you called me when I was going in that meeting. You called me, you remembered, and you knew that I needed to hear your voice before I went in that meeting because you knew I was going to lose it. You knew I was on the edge and about to lose all my marbles going in there. And you knew there was power in being able to have that other mother in your ear to say, I got you. How did you know? Your mic. Check your mic.
Can't hear you. You're still muted.
I told y'all the devil was busy. See, look at that. He got me, and now he ping ponging. We need some prayer. Who's the chaplain?
We got a good mother talking.
Tasha.
Okay, wait.
Heavenly Father, He will not take our joy. Mother, we know, Father God, we know you made the motherland and Mother Earth. We know that Mother is the high title, Father God. Father God, devil, we rebuke you in the name of Jesus. we bind the enemy with his internet hands. Get your little filthy internet hands off. Ain't nobody sent for you.
But you know what, LaJoy? Okay, let me ask you this, right? Now you said that you were the person, like when last year you and I were on Thrive by 5DC together.
I know.
Under the leadership, former leadership of the wonderful mother Faith Gibson Hubbard, who has since ascended into greater greatness. But she's still there with us.
Awesome.
Right, Tiffany's back. But I don't see her.
Yeah.
I don't see it. And so I said, I called you and I said, what can we talk about this? Can we can we talk about it? First it was supposed to be about distance learning. You remember that? And I said, what can we do, Mother? And you said, I know some other ladies. And you said to me the other day, right? So since that time, we've been talking a lot. We've been cackling a lot. We had this big Chioma's birthday. It was just, we have had like some amazing experiences as we connected. And I will always say it's like the best online dating ever because because I met you. We all like LaJoy. I knew you from Thrive, and we have met a few times before the pandemic. But then, you know, we all kind of got together online, started kicking it. Next thing you know, we like down, right? And you said something to me the other day. You was like, you know, it's really powerful to have these friends. I don't know that I've had friends like this.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, yes, Tiffany, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm back.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Hey, Mother.
Hey, Mother.
Hey, Mother.
Michelle, do you want me to finish or do you want me just to pass it to Tiffany?
Go ahead and finish it then. Tiffany, we'll go back to ask you, you know, how you knew what I needed back then.
Okay. So Michelle and I were talking the other day, and this was actually after the rally, and we were sitting at her dining room table with the kids and everything. And I was like, man, I'm just so thankful. I was like, man, like for you, Yolanda and Chioma. And I was like, and just like my mom and like, you know, I'm just so thankful for y'all because I'm like, I've never had friends like this, like ever in my life. And when I first had Abria, I didn't have friends really at all. Like I had like my mom and I had Mimi, but I didn't have friends like this that really understood like what I was going through in regards to special education. My mom knew what I was going through because my brother does have a developmental delay, but not to this extent of what I was going through with Abria. Like this was completely new territory. And so with you guys, it's just such a blessing to know that I can call you all and to just be transparent. Like, I think I have literally laughed, screamed, cursed, and cried on the phone with each of you. Like, I mean, especially in 2020. I don't think I could have and y'all know why, I'm not going to mention it. I don't think I could have gotten through 2020 and election season without y'all at all. So I just appreciate y'all, and you know, and it's just power, and that's what the motherhood is about. It's about knowing that, you know what, no matter what, my girls, like they got my back, and it's like they're not going to judge me for talking shit about the school. Like they're not going to judge me when I'm just having a really hard moment, like with Abria, where I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to do. Like what do I do? You know, I can take Abria over Michelle's house and not wonder, are kids going to treat her meanly because they know she's different? Like I struggle with that. You know, a lot of times it's just me and Abria, or me and Abria, my mom, or Abria with Godmom, but not Abria with around a lot of children because I don't know how they'll receive her. That's why I'm always in her class, like before COVID. That's why I was always in her classroom, like spending time with other children and embracing them and to helping them understand what was going on, so that way she would not feel bullied, or you know, but that they would embrace her, and to also to help teach as well, you know. And so I just thank God for y'all that I can talk to y'all about this stuff. And just, if I haven't told you, I really appreciate y'all. Like last year through 2020, I couldn't have made it without y'all, and I sincerely love you, ladies. Real talk.
Yeah, I got to admit I haven't laughed so much. I mean, half the time we can barely get through what we're supposed to be doing for that. So Tiffany, I'm asking you before the internet trolls. I mean, not trolls. I guess I want to say something else, but tried to get us, and steal our joy. But Tiffany, I asked you. I remember I was sitting in my car that time, and I was going to that IEP meeting. And it was probably one of the first ones that was really like going to be pivotal. And I had talked to you about it, and you were like, and you called me. You remembered that I was going, and called me just before I went. And you was like, "Here, this is what I want to say." And I cried. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this!" And I went in there. I was like, "Yeah, yeah." How did you know I needed that?
I was you in that car probably about 2 years before that, but I didn't have anybody to call me to give me a pep talk. So I knew the importance of having to be there and pulling up for someone, because I felt like when I had to do it, I called my mom, and God bless her heart. She is the most rose-colored glasses woman I know. She is, ever since when they say a virtuous woman, her face is right there. She never says anything unkind. She never feeds me any doubt. She's always been uplifting to me. So I knew I could call her. But, sometimes you need your good girlfriend where you can talk really grimy, like, no, these bleep bleeps is not going to do this to me. But I can't do that with my mom. So I knew that I had to be there for you, to pull up for you. Because I have been there where I'm going to this IEP and I don't know anything. I felt like I was, intimidated by, the terms they were throwing out and things like that. So I knew what you were up against, and I knew you had to stand your ground. So I'm always the person that I want the other person to be to me. And so I knew for a fact that you needed the support of a mom who understood about, because you were raising a Black son, the stigmatism that goes with that, the stigmatism that goes with disability, and being able to stand strong with that. Because right now we are in a pivotal moment where us as Black women, as a community, we have a platform, and it is our due diligence to speak our truths when it comes to that. Because frankly, I'm tired of shrinking. I'm tired of shrinking at work, at home, and out at anywhere I go. I'm going to be the person that I know that I can be. And I knew for a fact that you were going to be that person to go in there and demand what you needed to do, what was best for your son's education. And so that's why I knew for a fact that I was you 2 years before you went through your stuff.
Gosh, I found myself in many times like completely. I felt completely devoid of power. Like nothing I had done in my life mattered. Like I was no one. And I was so there was so many like emotions and feelings that went along with me still going through what I say like the stages of grief, trying to really accept and understand what I was needing to do and what my son needed. And because it wasn't easy just to go talk to family members and say this is what's going on, because many people said, you know, but even my own father was like, I don't want to hear that, because they kind of felt like if you don't say it or acknowledge it, it's not like
it doesn't exist.
right. But meanwhile, it is what it is. And so and it was just such an isolating feeling, until that moment. And then, from there, I've been talking, we've been talking about something like this since that day, right? How can we like create this type of network where we can really, someone can call someone and be able to, share this type of feeling. And I'll say, like, as we start, I'm gonna lean toward last words, and I'll say mine is that I told Yolanda one day. I call Yolanda a lot. She probably tired of me by now. She just pick up when I call, and it might let me say anything. But I told Yolanda one day that my son, he in and out of crisis from time to time. Tiffany, remember we had the full moon talks and the vernal equinox shift, and we would find that our sons are very sensitive to these changes in the Earth's atmosphere, and so we cried there one day over lunch. Remember, oh my goodness, it's so many things. But I was saying how I told Yolanda my son was having a crisis one night, and the whole house was amped up. Everybody, my daughter, because she's younger than him, she modeled his behavior. And so she was doing what he was doing, and my son was amped up, and then dad was frustrated. And I was sitting at my desk, and I was like, you know what? I gotta go. And so I grabbed myself a bottle of wine with a twist off cap, no doubt. and a glass, my bag, with my little notebooks and my speaker, and went up in the bathroom and put on some jazz and started going with a shower and just had a glass of wine. And I just knew I was gonna be so like still amped up and frustrated because I went in there angry. I went in there angry and frustrated because I haven't gotten out of the why me space, right? I have not gotten out of the why me. Why can't I just not have to do this every day? Like, why can't this not be like this, right? I have not gotten out of that space yet. I'm working on it. And that's why we're here. Amen. And so, but I was telling Yolanda how when I came out, it was about 10 o'clock and we watched Magnum, vintage Magnum PI, pretty much every night. And so it came out about 10 o'clock and I was like, hey everyone, time for Magnum. And everybody popped up, right? It was like, oh yay, Magnum. And I wasn't angry, like I had reset, like I had really reset. And I know for a fact that the main reason why that I did not spiral with him that day was because I've been laughing with y'all for the last 10 months. And I know that's the truth. I know that's the truth. That the reason why I did not fall apart was because I had a chance to sit and reflect on all the laughter, all the things that we have cried and laughed about, been able to share with one another. I knew I wasn't alone. I knew it was no reason to ask why me, because why me, because why, because this, right? Somehow I needed to be here so we can do this work, right? This is my mission, you know? And so it was so fascinating. And so I know that there is power in the collective. I know that this type of connection as mother, but being able to proselytize that one fact that mother is your high title, and to be able to push that out into the discourse across the communities of mothers of children with disabilities, specifically Black and Brown, so that when they go in, no matter what level of education, no matter how much they read procedures, profiles, whatever they know, you know your child best, presumably, right? Okay, and therefore you have the power to advocate based on what you know. And if you don't like it, you can say so, because I am the mother. Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So now when those people call about them IEPs, I'm like, well, don't let me get to calling Dr. Owu and Mother Yolanda and Mother LaJoya. Now come on. I know my sister Stacy didn't join on. She'll probably be listening, but I call Stacy. Oh, I see Lindsay. Hey, Lindsay. I call Stacy. We get fired up together. We got a whole squad now. Hey, squad. Okay. Last words. Mother Sean Yancey, I like to pass you the mic for some last words before we end tonight.
Let me just say, I was incredibly moved by listening to you guys. And I think it's grateful that you've created this community and this space together, and that you have been able to lean on each other. Like I told you, my son, who's on the spectrum, is 21 now. And at the point where he was diagnosed, I don't really have, my mom was there, my husband was there, and he's got two best friends, and their parents were there, but I don't really have this. Wow, I'm moved, and I think it's great what you've created. Keep pushing, keep doing that, because you really need it to navigate through this space. I don't know if you guys feel like this, but still to this day, like my son is not very social, and I still think, is he gonna have friends? Are we gonna have another girlfriend that's gonna pop up? Are we gonna do this? I don't have anybody else who's in that age range that he's in to ask those questions to right now. And then, I want to share his business with everybody because I don't want him to be like, Mom, I can't believe you said that. Let me just say, mother is the high title. You guys are mother, all that. That's what we all are collectively. And that's really, I don't have the right words to articulate exactly what I'm feeling right now, but stay like this for each other, because I'm going to tell you what, when you have a bond like this, Michelle was talking about how you kept her laughing because she knew that she went through this, that she was able to go on. Let me talk about Queen Mother over here with her crown on. Both crowns. All y'all got crowns on, okay? I mean, just the fact that you shared how you were able to keep going through 2020 just because you have each other, I think that's incredibly important. And it speaks volumes for what you've created. And I just say continue to pull in more and more women in the space. And I think a couple of years ago, when I was with the other station that I used to be with, we did a special during the month of April for autism awareness. And I can't tell you how many Black families reached out to me and said, I thought, but I wasn't really sure. You know, it's not something we really talk about. And for me, that was the point where I felt like I was able to help. But there's not that all the time with women of color. And I think this is a great space for us to educate and bring in more women and embrace it so that we can not only keep fighting for our kids, but educate the rest of the world so that they know how to take care of their kids out there. I love you guys and I love what you're doing. Bravo to you.
Thank you, friend. I do want to acknowledge that art back there. That is that that's a custom shot? Yeah, I see
all over them here. This is also fun. Yes, here. Yes.
But you'll be happy to know through the pandemic and through these women, because my mental space is so much clearer. I have started painting again.
I saw.
So she is back-ish. Mother Chioma, last words.
Oh man. So I was just at the cusp of tears. The minute that I kind of felt Sean kind of go there, I was like, oh, here we go. So I'm gonna try and keep this, because this has been a very emotional few weeks. I you guys know I am right next to the picture of introvert is me, right? Right. I'm not one for all of the fans. I love to be around people that I know and I love and I trust, right? That I'm definitely there. But this couple of weeks has kind of pushed me out in a way that's usually very uncomfortable for me. But we do what we have to do. So there's mother, there's warrior woman, right? And I think that the Amazonian, the Dahomey spirit, that is another level that I want us to explore as well, because there is those who just are born to fight. And I have embraced that I am one of those, right? So there's different personalities with motherhood, right? And I want to embrace that. It's okay to not be the mother that's gonna pull out a camera and record and put it on blast, right? Like, we show up as authentic as we are, and that is enough. We are enough, right? And to really, I say this because I know even in our spaces, I don't typically like to put out the doctor thing, especially around other mothers, because I know what that translates in a you got it, I don't, you know it, and I don't. And I think that is categorically untrue, because it is untrue, because at the end of the day, this is a war that belongs to all of us. So you better figure out how to survive in it the best that you can with the tools that you have. And that is enough. Right. And then where we lift each other up in community, that is where the sisterhood thing. So like start really unpacking the sisterhood, the motherhood, the warrior woman, that there are personalities, and I feel there are archetypes that are even defining themselves as I think even deeper through the historic presence of Black women, right? And knowing that our definition has not been told in history, because it's never pleased those who write history books to tell our story. So we have to do it. We have to do it now. And the story of our people is the story of the mothers, because you have no people without mothers. So I think it starts there. Whether you're talking about warrior woman or mother or brother or revolutionary or whatever, organizer, it starts with the mother. It's a basic principle. And I wish we put some respect on it, because that's what's actually going to liberate us in ways that I don't think we have yet embraced. Especially, and I want to just speak to my organizers for a minute, my people, my tribe, right? If any people who are tuning in this are organizers, which we all are here in terms of, we the motherhood, that I want to squeeze out that tension that exists between how we show up in the work, right? That we carry so much as mothers, and that the level of organization that we have to execute at a very granular level behind the scenes on a daily basis requires grace. Right? Requires grace, how we show up in movement, how we show up in action, but it should, like ableism and the spectrum and what we're smashing on, is also our ability to engage in the political process is not an excuse to exclude us from the political process. Right? There's no reason, and that's part in the principle of that political mind. Like, again, I understand it culturally, but at the end of the day, let's just be clear. I'm a political animal. That's my design. That's just how this machine works, right? And constantly thinking in that format. And so if we are brokering right at the grassroots, it is there that we embrace the principle of motherhood. We can't expect the colonial, historic, imperial, whatever systems that have created themselves, white supremacist, Eurocentric, patriarchal. We cannot anticipate that those structures that have really benefited everyone but us to create the environment in which the centering begins. It starts with how we organize. It starts with who we account for when we organize. If you're creating a movement or entity, and you don't have to be a parent organizer to be doing this, provide childcare. Think about the children when you're planning your actions and your movement. That's the real thing that I took when we had that rally. That's part of what it means to be matrifocal. It's not, again, putting just the woman in the, because you're thinking about us as individuals. Get out of your capitalist mind and think about it for a second in your African mind that says that I am not just a woman with children. I am a mother, and we're a package deal. So that means if you want me to be part of your effort, or you want the movement to reflect Black girl magic, and that should not just include those young girls you can exploit before they become mothers, and when they become mothers, you abandon them, because that happens in movement work too, right? You forget their mothering is critical, and it's essential, and it's important. And if they were an organizer before their mother, they're an organizer after their mother. And I'm speaking very specifically because I'm saying this knowing that we're here in a place where we're defining a new terrain. People don't talk like we talk in general, and I think it's starting to shock a lot of people, and a lot of people are embracing us, and I love that. And I only pray that we grow more disciplined and be more committed. So there is the need to step in and step up in our power without any fear, but as we are. Thank you and good night, my sister.
I should have gave you the last word. Always. So who gonna pick it up with their last word next? Okay. Look, she said, look, everybody said no. All right. So you said something, you reminded me of something we have said about 15 million times since we started this, because Tiffany's beautiful baby came in the room and got her hug. And my son is over his uncle's house, but by now he would have popped in here probably too. And but you coined this one, Chioma, momming in real time, right? We a package deal, and we are at home right now. We don't have the luxury of stepping out to the workplace. So my coworkers might come into the office at any moment, at any time. And so we are momming in real time. So when I saw Tiffany's son come in, it touched me so much. So Tiffany, I'm gonna pass the mic to you for your last word.
You would set me up. And how do you follow Chinoma after that? I mean, I just want to say this. Every time that I am on a panel or just in a conversation with you all, I learn so much. Like 10 years ago, I would have been very intimidated to sit on a panel like this and being able to discuss freely, like all the inner workings of our family, autism, and getting educated by Chinoma. And I'm just like, I'm in awe. I'm just happy to be in the room. And I want to say that I celebrate every last person on here. Sean, I have watched you since I don't know, since I even was interested in the news. I saw your face, and that representation means so much. And I am just so happy, to be on here with you. And it's just a blessing. Today is just a blessing. That's all I have to say. And I have grown so much from where I have been to where I am now. And I'm just like, I'm only getting started. So the world better watch out, because our abundance is before us, and we just have to claim it. We just have to know it. So, and like I said, I can't follow Chinoma with her powerful words, but I send every woman out there that you need to believe in yourself first. You need to take care of yourself first, because if you fall down, there is nobody there to pick you up or to fill your cup but you. So you always have to make sure you take care of yourself. Because we have the highest title, that means we have the highest responsibility, and self-care is a must. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to have any explanations for it. And just for the fact that, because my son is different, like your normal is your thing. My difference is that it is accepted, it is celebrated, and it's appreciated. It it makes us less boring. I mean, let's just be real. So, like I said, thank you, Michelle, and the motherhood for including me. Like I've said, I always keep my pen and paper handy, because I know there is a lesson to be learned, and I'm not ashamed to write it down. And we're gonna trademark those shirts, so I'll get with you guys later so we can
ASAP.
get those shirts on.
ASAP. Hey,
Okay.
listen, thank you, Tiffany, for that
No
work
problem.
and inclusion work that you've been doing at our day gig. And we share a day. We share a day gig, right? Okay, not like share a day gig, but we work at the same day gig. And but Tiffany is leading the way on diversity, inclusion, and inclusion conversations. And she led an amazing workshop that opened up a lot of conversation about adults in the workplace that are coming in with invisible disabilities and redesigning workplaces to think about that. And what was amazing about that conversation was many of the things that we talked about our kids came up about adults, about adults on the spectrum that may be coming into the office who will not be able to use a mask, adults with anxiety who will not be able to manage certain types of issues, and that we have to account for that. And it was great to hear, so much support for having consideration in place for those staffers. But it's also great to see that there is cutting edge design principles being developed to really take workplaces into a more modern, more inclusive environment that actually accounts for the fact that not everybody wants to sit under fluorescent lights all day, or red paint is going to be bigger, or little tiny offices or super open spaces. And so being able to have tolerant workplaces that as Chioma hashtag smash on ableism, right? You just assume that everything's going to be all right, right? Right, smash on ableism, right? You just assume that everything's gonna be all right because it's all right with your able-bodied self. But and able-bodiedness is relative, right? People bring many, many things. So I want to thank you, Tiffany, for leading the charge there and continuing the conversation, and for opening up a lot of people's filters to all of the colleagues that they may have around them. And I have a colleague at work that people say, I don't know about him, and he has Asperger's and he's ADHD. He used to be very open with me and share those things so that I may know his stories for my own son's purpose, right? And so when people say something about him, I say, you know what? If you don't like him, you don't like my son. And let me tell you something. If you don't like my son, we got problems. And they go, I love him. I do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because you don't want this smoke. Yolanda.
Listen, I think about that, right? Because I too, right? I like I said, out of the four of us, I have the oldest child, and a lot of sleepless nights go into my heart when it comes to worrying about him as an adult. So, Sean, I promise you, we're here. It seems like I try to explain to people this is not a go away issue. This is something that whether they successfully make it out of your door, like every parent celebrates, you're still going to be there. Like, what's happening? And are you Don't, like, it's a constant thing. And I think about, like you said, Michelle, I had a coworker who immediately, as soon as I met him, I knew what was going on. But to have to sit back and watch people be like, I don't know, is he okay? And it was my own people, our own people. That was like, oh, watch, the things they would say, oh, watch, he gonna come in here, he gonna blow us all up. I'm like, are you serious? All he doing is walking back and forth. And so now here I am at work educating people about it, and I'm thankful for it that I find myself in this space. My story is simple. I don't have PhDs. I'm not, when I'm invited to speak on panels and things like that, I say in my undereducated, undegreed opinion, to make other people's egos feel better. That doesn't mean that I diminish how I value myself, but you just have to let people know that you're here. And I'm forever thankful for being able to learn constantly. Never in a million years would I thought this little Southeast girl would be on this thing with Sean Yancey, saying damn and such. But look at me now, mama. Hey, I feel like I made it. What on this good Facebook Live? I ain't even on NBC, but God is good. He's still. But yeah, no, it is just ever more present every time that we had these moments to, both on Citizen Aid or whether on our localized moments, to meet so many powerful women that are keeping each other connected. I constantly like to remind people don't get it twisted. Just because we show up in this space doesn't mean we got all the answers, right? We're just trying to highlight what ease can come to your life when you seek to connect with those who have found the answers, and how much easier it's going to be for your hard work, not your hard work, to get it done and be okay in those moments where you don't have the answers. Sway, I stay in that lane. I don't have the answers. I know I got some good sisters that I can call, explain to them what's going on, and they might not have the answers, but at least they know where I'm coming from. And sometimes that's all you need to reset and get it going and be empowered and keep it moving. So I'll do my one good job that I got on this joint as being the one that ain't got all the degrees or the answers, and tell you that if you would ever so kindly just like our page, y'all put us in this space. We love y'all. We the motherhood, and we trying to answer the call, so we working on it. So we see y'all liking our page, and we want to put things on there, but we mother in real time. So yeah, we gonna get there, right? But keep on liking and keep on subscribing to our YouTube, because we got one of those too. And I'll end it like this. I don't know what a like will do, but I know what a share does. A share ensures that another mother, whether MOTHER or MUVA, is linked to a group of people, not just us. It's not just us. You see, we got Sean Yancey, we got Tiffany, we got all kinds of people that can be that person to start you off on the circle of connection for empowerment. And if that is my legacy that I can leave as a mother and a mother, is to show my other sisters that you don't have to go out here and cry and suffer alone. And that's God's good work in my eyes, and I'm good with it. So I say good night, and thank you for spending your good 3 hours of church with us.
Hey. I wrote down, somebody wrote mother, warrior woman. From what you said, they trolled you, Chioma. I think that's a shirt too. So we'll work on that. But when you said warrior woman, you made me think about something as I start making notes on my road to 50, right? As I don't have a full 2 years, but I got 49. My 49th birthday will be coming, but I'm still marking my road to 50 in 2022. And I am, and one of the things I have embraced that my inner warrior woman, I have accepted her too, Chioma. So we are aligning our acceptance of that spirit. And so with that said, I will give the very last word to our future of politics, the warrior woman who has been fighting. We back her play. The illustrious LaJoy Johnson Law. Candidate.
No. Why do y'all always trying to make me run for office? We had a good run. It was a beautiful experience, and the whole campaign was families first. I ran it as a mother.
Yes.
And the whole point of it was to to show other mothers and parents that somebody sees you and that somebody hears you and that somebody is with you. That was the whole point of the campaign. And it worked. It worked. It was so many families felt heard. I think so many families know about We the Motherhood. So many families know about a different resource to just help them, even if it's just a little bit, just to help them navigate the system and to not feel so alone. And I'm sitting here, I'm trying not to cry because it's like, y'all have just really touched me today. And I think about the campaign because y'all were right there. And you all are mothers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then it was COVID. We're in these COVID streets. Okay, y'all. We knocking on doors in these COVID streets, trying to let folks know that, like, we see you and we hear you and we just want to, and we care about your children. That's what We the Motherhood is about. It's like, we care about all our mothers, we care about our families, and we care about all of our children. And we just want better because we know that we deserve better. We know that people have mistreated us. We know that people have treated us as the invisible woman. We know that people have, some mothers, their children have died because of these issues. Like, real talk, y'all. Real talk. And so it's a blessing to know that somebody sees you and somebody hears you and you're not alone. So first of all, to all the mothers of Black sons, because I don't have a son, I really honor you all. And we all know what's going on in these spaces, especially with the George Floyd trial. So I just wanted to take a moment to just really honor you all, because all of you all have Black sons. And I don't know what that's like. I'm sorry, y'all, but we have to talk about this. I really love y'all, and I really love your kids. And you are the high title, because I don't know what it's like to raise a Black child in these United States, real talk. So y'all have to keep going, because so many other mothers and parents and grandmothers are really counting on us. So we have to keep telling our story, because someone needs us for real. And Chioma, we're so happy Jedi is here, because we all know that situation could have turned a different way. So to all of our mothers, and I say mothers because guess what? To our white mothers that are raising Black sons, we honor you. To our mothers raising little Black girls and young Black women who are demonized and sexualized by this crappy system, we honor you. Raise your queen the way she should be. Let her know that, baby, sometimes the crown may tilt, but there are women here to help you fix it. No matter what. And to all the mothers, you don't need a degree. God gave you a gift. And that's all you need. So from We the Motherhood, we love you. We thank you. I want everyone to raise their hands up, just like this. And on the count of 3, we're going to go like this and say, we are the motherhood. And we're going to end it like that. So ready? 1, 2, 3. We are the motherhood. You have the high title.
Thank you. All right, we are back May 7th. And then in June, we celebrate 1 year of We the Motherhood. I'm very excited to be crossing that over.
Do I need to get balloons? Do I need to get balloons in the cake?
Yeah.
None of their good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I won't get wet.
And no, shout out to Maria Rice, who came and joined our book club, and we honor her. And pieces of her story don't really get told the way that they should. and even where she stands in this particular struggle as it relates to being a parent of students who require the same support. And so she joined us and she shared her story. And so shout out to Samaria for coming in and talking with our book club. It is the Anti-Racism and Disability Book Club, hosted by the Parent Action Advocacy Team. You can find more about that on the Chi Born Free website. Is it Dr. Chi Born Free? Is the website Dr. Chi Born Free? LaJoy, go ahead and drop that in the notes before we hang up, because you're good for dropping things in the notes.
Bria took my phone. My
Oh.
my boss, she took the phone.
And so you can join our book club. What is the book that remind me again, Chioma, the book
Sure,
that
yeah.
we
The book is Anti-Racism and the Universal Design for Learning by Andretisha Fitzgerald. She's actually going to join the May book club. So we meet the last Friday of the month. So we meet in the last Friday of this month, 4:30 to 6:30. We're going to be working the same book for 3 months. We're going to close it out in May with the author. We started out with Samaria Rice, who wrote the foreword. And then in this meeting that we're coming to this month, we will decide democratically our next book. So please come with suggestions for the next one.
All right, very good. Thank you. Chioma,
We need a mailing list. That's the other thing. People should put their contact in the chat so we could start a mailing list, because we definitely need one.
Chioma be making us work, y'all. She be working us. I got you though, sis. I got you. So anyway, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting ready to end this broadcast. I like the panel to hold while we end our broadcast. Again, we'll be back right here on Citizen on May 7th, and we will discuss collective motherhood. Maybe Sean will come back. And we'll talk about the power of the collective motherhood and where we land. I've been writing on that. Sean will be happy. I actually have been writing on that topic, and so I'll share some of my words on the subject. But we know for certain that there is true power in the collective. And with that, Facebook land, I say good night. Good night.
Night.